Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at not only the astrological weather report for this week, which is February 27th through March 5th, but I'm going to start off with actually the month of March. It's pretty much not a lot of activity these first 2 days anyway, the last 2 days of February, and actually not a lot of activity this week, which is good because there's two really big shifts in March that you need to spend some time on. So the Astrological Winds channel is a free service that I offer every week on YouTube, and become a follower if you have a YouTube account. And then turn on your notifications so you know when it's posted, which is usually every Monday. But it's also available on all kinds of podcasts, so look it up on your favorite podcast. If you don't see it on that one, try another one. It's definitely out there, put out there by Buzzsprout, Spotify, people like that pick it up. So just take a look, and you should be able to find it. Just do a search under Astrological Winds channel. And like I said, it's a free service. I would love if you guys could pass the link on to somebody else when we're done, and that would be the best way to actually repay me. And so if you can do that, that would be great. Of course, any kind of donation is welcome too. But anyway, I will take care of more of that business towards the end, and I want to get into first March. Remember, in February, there really wasn't a lot to talk about as far as like major shifts going on in the background, and the monthly stuff is like that. This month there's two major shifts, and there's one other relatively big event that I want to talk about. So we have two of the outer planets are going to change signs in March, and huge shifts for sure. The first one will be Saturn on March 7th. Will be leaving Aquarius and going into Pisces. So for the last 5 years, Saturn has been in the two signs that it's strongest in, Capricorn and Aquarius, where it really functions well in. And so it's going to go into Pisces and have some new challenges there. And then also Pluto will make its first dip into Aquarius, and this is a huge game changer, you guys. We're talking about something that's going to be 20 years of Pluto going through Aquarius. So talking about that in a little bit, but let's talk about Saturn going into Pisces first, which is going to happen on March 7th, and it will stay in Pisces until May of 2025. Will retrograde, or will then at that point go into Aries for a few months, and then in September of 2025 will retrograde back into Pisces, and then by February of 2026 will finally be over its sojourn in Pisces. So you can see out of the next 3 years, we're talking, February 2023 right now, end of February 2023, March 2023, going to February 2026, Saturn will mainly be in Pisces. And the last time that Saturn was in Pisces was the mid-90s. It was the January of 1994 through April of 1996. So that's a time period where you can look back at events and kind of maybe get an idea of the kind of energy that Saturn in Pisces is going to bring. Now, remember, Saturn is one of the two social planets, so it has a lot to do with what's going on in society and culture and the things that are going on. And then, like when Jupiter was in Pisces this past year, and Neptune, which is still in Pisces right now, which brings expansion and idealism and a lot of spirituality and religious energy that's on an abstract and expanding level, and bringing that into society and to individuals. Saturn actually brings a reality check to that stuff. It basically says, hey, No more just like thoughts and abstract ideals and ideas that you have. What are you going to do to take your ideals in these next 3 years and put them into reality, put them into structure, get them out there, do the nitty-gritty work that is required to inject these expanded ideals and ideas that Piscean energy brings, and get those dreams, those hopes, those wishes, those things into society and into the physical world. So it's really about doing a lot of like work, basically, to bring abstract into concrete. And it is very imaginative. It's very inspiring still. And it brings up, like, a lot of things that we really believe in and value and want to like see as part of the structure of our lives around us and in society. And Pisces is a yin sign, and it's very inclusive, and Saturn is all about like also taking authority, basically, going out there and doing something. So leadership can spring out of Saturn energy. And when it's in Pisces, with it being this yin and inclusive sign, I think we can see maybe leadership just like cutting across all kinds of different people and barriers. So people from different cultures, different races, an equality of the sexes in leadership, just bringing in a lot of that duality. And it's like, and bringing like imagination into your business stuff. Saturn has a lot to do with how we're functioning in the real world, with business and things like that. So it's going to be, I think, about bringing some imagination into business, into the structures of your business, to get it, more up to where you want it to be, ideally. And I think also, we're going to see a lot of people being serious about their spirituality too. Pisces, and their art too, their creativity. Pisces is all about spirituality and art. And I think Saturn is a commitment to a path. So I think you're going to see a lot of people, really committed to some kind of spiritual path, Now, I think some of the danger of that is, like I've said before, and I talked about it when we had the new moon in Pisces a couple weeks ago, the Pisces is all about unification energy below everything. Like the energy below everything is a unifying energy, and we have some sense of connection with everything. So it's like it's an energy that comes in and becomes at one with the things that it touches. I think the danger, with the Pisces, as I said before, is two fish swimming in opposite directions. They don't see each other. So the attachment at the tail representing that underlying unity, but then having a dualistic nature. Pisces is a dualistic sign. And it can get very much into an energy of you're with us or against us when it comes to beliefs. And in our world of like organized religion having so much influence, and even political beliefs, the division between political beliefs and how we ideally approach things, this brings in a lot of danger to us, like getting into warlike type of stances about what we believe in. So, there is this danger, when Pisces energy and the duality is missing the unification, that it can bring almost like a holy or religious war to us. So that's something we have to, kind of like a little bit be aware of. Now, one of the other things that's interesting too, I said it's bringing structure to ideals, but what can also happen is Pisces can water down the precision of Saturn, and can make us feel like, gosh, our ideals are never going to match with reality, and that we can never get the precision that we want. And so, like, it's going to require, a lot of, endurance in trying to push through, like, maybe things when they get foggy, or when ideals are not matching up to what we want, and that can bring us down. It can water down our energy and our ability to keep form and structure in our lives. So there will be challenges like that. Now, interestingly enough, too, I think when you think about more practical things in society, when you think about Saturn representing all the structures of society, and Pisces, this very watery energy, we're going to see a lot of the structures of society kind of undermined by the tides of the time. But literally, on a physical level, I think, these next 3 years, the structures of buildings and coastal stuff may get undermined by rising sea level. Pisces is water, ocean, and Saturn structure, and boundaries. So where the land meets the sea is a boundary place which can be dissolved. Those boundaries can be dissolved. And we can see that happening in other things too. We're going to see a lot of boundaries dissolved, like maybe boundaries between countries, maybe boundaries between religion and politics, maybe, and interesting too, Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. So we're also going to see the endings of a lot of things that have been slowly dying in the last 30 some odd years. And this will be kind of like their final dissolution. So a lot of it's almost like the dying gasps of a final age slowly going. But it does, give us the ability to tap into imagination and intuition and our spiritual ideals and try to build a new age out of that. So a very interesting energy going to be in effect for 3 years. And in a couple years, towards the end, Saturn will catch up with Neptune eventually in conjunct, and that is going to be a really big harbinger moment in this decade also. But the reality is the Saturn going into Pisces is the biggest thing of this first quarter of the year, the winter basically season in the northern hemisphere, and the summer in the southern hemisphere. And it's one of the biggest things that's happening this year. Now, on March 11th, we have Jupiter in Aries conjuncts Chiron in Aries, and they also conjunct Vesta, which is also in Aries a few days later. And so this is a pretty interesting aspect too. I mean, it's a desire to expand and learn more about life, to get more knowledge in, and that helps us heal and know where we want to go. Especially, it kind of gives us purpose, especially in a time when it can be really confusing. This, with Pisces energy, the Aries energy can cut through some of this. And once again, Jupiter is a societal planet. So it's almost looking at when you think about those Pisces ideals, it's Jupiter connects right with that stuff and wants to bring it into society and help heal things in society. But I think what it can do is, once again, very similar to Pisces too, is give issues of faith, how does our blind faith hurt us, and how can we get a deeper understanding of what's going on around us to actually help find the truth within all of us, and the knowledge that we need, that we want to take things up to another level and bring that into society and help heal, our own wounds by healing wounds within society. And then March 23rd, it's the big day. This is really, it's really one of the biggest things of the decade. I'll be honest with you guys. Pluto changing signs, going into Aquarius on March 23rd, where it will only stay until June 12th, actually. It will go retrograde in late April and go back into Capricorn until next February. And then once February 2024 hits, Pluto will stay in Capricorn until March of 2043. 20 years, you guys. It's a huge, huge turning point. Now, if you'll remember, Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008. And Pluto is, it's a transformational planet. And it's transpersonal, and it shows the shadow. It shows what's underneath everything. So when it goes through the sign of the zodiac over those years, it's going to show the shadow side of that sign, what that represents in society and within our own human psyches. And Saturn, Pluto going through Capricorn since 2008. Capricorn represents hierarchical structure, the structures of society, and that's mainly business, big business, and also organized religion and politics. It's the leadership. It's the top of the hierarchical pyramid is what that Capricorn is. It's the wisdom and knowledge and experience of many, many years. But like all systems, that those systems start to become outdated, and it's the shadow side, the negative stuff going on, that ultimately self-destructs a system. And so Pluto in Capricorn since 2008 has shown us how our politicians, how our leaders, and how our business people are all, doing shadowy stuff underneath. This is something that both sides of the political spectrum agree upon. It's a common ground that's been found in the last almost, 15, 16 years, is that, there's, a lot of ugly stuff going on behind the scenes in society by those who are in power, those who are in business, those who are in organized religion, those who are in politics. So, so now it's going to go into Aquarius. And there's going to be a total shift in the energy now. We've all seen that this system, as it is, has a lot of shadow, a lot of ugliness, a lot of things that need to transform. And so now that's what's going to start to happen. And, we're in the cusp of the Aquarius age. I really think we have been since about 1920. I think it takes, about 200 years to cusp from one age out of Pisces into Aquarius. So we're like pretty much dead center. We're 100 years into this shift from a Piscean age to an Aquarian age. And with Pluto going into Aquarius for the next 20 years, we've reached that center point, the tipping point where it's going to go start turning, because we've seen the ugliness of the Capricorn in the old system. And so now it's all turning in the consciousness of the humans, of all of us together, the collective of humans. It's all shifting way deep down inside us first, but now it's starting to come up. So we've reached a tipping point. Very interesting too. The USA, remember, in the middle of its Pluto return, and we'll get the second and third hits in the next year or so. And look at how much the USA is changing. We really are in the middle of a transformation in the United States, whether we want to admit it or not. And a perfect point is that Liz Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that, it's time for the United States to break up, that we have irreconcilable differences, There's that Pisces swimming apart, right? Just think, a few years ago, if a congressperson said that, they would have been thrown out of Congress for treason. So just the idea that can be accepted into the collective and actually discussed and talked about shows you how much the U.S. is in the middle of a change. And this Pluto return for the next year or so is going to continue that. And we may change our form of government. We may break up. I've said this before. It seems to be ultimately where the United States is heading, whether we want to admit to that or not. So that's going to be part of this next year, is that Pluto return being hit 2 more times really strongly. But this is the time the age of Aquarius has reached that tipping point. We're over halfway through it, and it's going to be 20 years. And what's Aquarius about? If I was going to say 2 words that Aquarius is about, it's revolution and it's decentralization. And I would say the 3rd word is like either alternative or cutting edge, like out there, something new, So those are the 3 key words to think about what's going to come into the collective zeitgeist for the next, 20 years. It's going to be revolution. And when I say revolution, that means across all things. We're not just talking politics, We're talking about all the things that, that revolution can occur with culturally and socially. Abstract things, physical things, ideas, all this stuff is going to change society and over the next 20 years. And I think, decentralization, you can see, is going on all across society already. And alternative ideas, the melting pot, the breaking down of barriers, the breaking down of different things that are separating. Aquarius wants equality for everything and everyone across the board. And that's the energy that's coming in. That's why it's decentralized, and that's why it's alternative too, because that's not the way traditional society has been for a long time. So the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was, guess when? The late 1700s. What happened then? The American and French revolutions. The age of reason took over the political scene. It split politics from religion, that for centuries before that really was dictating the politics of the times. The French actually made Notre Dame a church of reason during the French Revolution. They separated themselves from the hierarchical, aristocratic form of government, just like the United States did from England. That's the kind of change we can expect in the next 20 years. Those kinds of changes. Science and technology are going to become the religion. Okay? They're going to have the most value. They're going to be driving. But we're also going to see the ugly side of science and technology. We're going to see how they're trying to homogenize and collectivize everything. And we're already been seeing a lot of it, right? But we're going to really get to see that ugly side. But at the same time, it's what's going to break up the age of Capricorn, the hierarchical structure, a dying way of doing things. And it's going to decentralize it. And it's going to make people more equal across the board. It's going to dissolve differences, whether we like it or not. That's what's happening. Even things like climate change can dissolve boundaries when millions of people have to move somewhere else. So that's just another case in point. But we are going to see a complete change in society. And science and technology and reason and logic and equality are all going to be major themes. It's going to finish breaking apart the old hierarchical ways of the way things have been done. Cutting edge ideas, those kind of things are what's going to really come in. And we'll be talking about this for the next 20 years. So there's going to be a lot of depth. There's going to be a lot of changes in patterns. And we can sense a lot of it. We can expect AI and humans to actually come together during these next 20 years to create the singularity There's going to be a lot of decentralization, but the key for Aquarius is to honoring each person's individual contribution, what they do best. And that's going to be a great gift that is freeing for many, many people. And self-empowering too, and it's a common goal that we can work towards. And there's a lot of problems in the world, so it'd be good to do that. So I really want to, I could talk about this for a long time. I want to get into the 3 things or 4 things for this week to February 27th through March 5th. There's 4 things I want to mention, and the first one is really, really sweet. It's on Wednesday, March 1st. When Venus conjuncts Jupiter, and it's actually parallel Jupiter too. So you look up in the sky, right, when it starts to get dark, I'm sure you guys have noticed Venus super bright on the western horizon and getting higher, and Jupiter, which is pretty bright but not as bright as Venus, is slowly getting lower. So they're going to conjunct on Wednesday and come together, and they are the 2 beneficial planets. So when they come together, it's really good. It's getting benefits through friends, through relationships, through others, and even practical ones, even financial ones. It's like but it's a real sweet attitude about just wanting to socialize, to expand our circles. It can bring in new romantic relationships for sure that are very expansive to the people involved. It can bring in financial gains through people. It's just a very positive energy. You just want to be with your family and your loved ones and spreading really good energy, and you benefit one another. And then any new relationships started, any new associations started, are usually highly beneficial during this conjunction. So one of the best conjunctions or aspects that we can actually have smack in the middle of the week. Now, the funny thing is, the very next day, we have a very opposing energy. Mercury conjuncts Saturn in the 30th degree of Aquarius, in the critical 30th degree. And, and as opposed to that Venus Jupiter conjunction that's all open and expansive, Mercury Saturn's like narrowing the focus. It's like concentrating, getting down to the work, bring this really serious attitude, a narrow-minded attitude, really focused in, conservative kind of attitude, only using your words when they're really needed for practical things, but it gives great focus, great concentration, so if there's anything that comes to you that's expansive during the Venus Jupiter conjunction, now you can take that and really work out the details. That's great for planning, for organizing, for negotiating details, working on things. But it can get us into definitely more of a negative frame of mind, a more half glass empty mind, kind of a little bit on the critical, judgmental side. It's really easy to see mistakes, but also therefore easy to fix them. The problem is when you start griping at others, is it can make communications very difficult, So very interesting. And then later that day, Mercury goes into Pisces, which is interesting, talk a lot about Pisces these days. Mercury doesn't like Pisces. Mercury is actually, that's its weakest sign. It's in fall and it's in detriment in Pisces. And why? Because Mercury's all about precision. It's about the mind. It's about being acute. But when it goes into Pisces, it gets all nebulous. It gets watered down. We go right brain. We kind of like start getting into imaginative and abstract things, nebulous things, so our thoughts are driven by our emotions and our feelings, and they can be irrational. And Mercury doesn't really like that. But on the good side, it can bring a lot of inspiration, a lot of imagination, a lot of the use of words in a poetic way, storytelling, creative writing, poetry, musical lyric writing, all that stuff. But it gives us a very subjective viewpoint and a very subjective communications, and we can be very sensitive to others' thoughts too. We can easily fall under the influence of others' thoughts and become like almost the follower, so and like I said, it can make sometimes the words hard to come out too of what we want to try to convey to people can be easily misunderstood. And then the last thing I want to mention, on Friday we have Venus conjunct Chiron in Aries. And Venus conjunct Chiron is like, it really wants to find healing through truth, finding what your real value, what you really believe is, what you value, what you consider beauty even. And so it's all about finding those things. And it comes usually through relationships. It can definitely help heal relationships. It can give relationships that have been damaged a new place to start from, or once again, just like the Venus conjunct Jupiter can bring new relationships in that are very significant. We can learn a lot from each other in them, bring healing to ourselves, and they can be love type relationships too. And Venus also gives us the ability to use art as a healing form. Very adept at taking in the different things that make up art and getting a healing, our self-healing at it, and the ability to heal others by exposing them to it. So very nice energy this week for the most part. The Mercury Saturn can be a little bit tricky, but it can also be very imaginative and inspiring. So here we are, guys. We're at, we're really at the tipping point. This month really is like almost the center of the cusp point of Pisces into Aquarius. And no matter how much people, culture, whatever resist change and evolution, it's going to occur. And you can see a lot of these Pluto and Aquarius things are already happening. But we have a lot of Piscean energy to still deal with, and it can be a really us versus them energy. We're at and we're at a time when one age is breaking down, that Piscean age, and even that Pluto in Capricorn, showing a lot of the structures in society breaking down from all kinds of reasons, all kinds of instability, all kinds of things that have been exposed that show how unstable actually the structure of society is at this point over the last 15 years while Pluto's in Capricorn. So now we have to take it and move it into a new level. It needs the upgrade, and we can see a lot of these things, the decentralization, the revolution, the cutting edge ideas, and the equality across society and culture are really coming up from the groundswell, from the people themselves. And that's what ultimately makes society change, not the leaders. The people change things. And Aquarius is a very collective sign. It's an inevitable thing. Just like the French and American revolutions were inevitable, it's an inevitable thing. So become a willing participant. Find your spot in that, and try to let go of the older ideas and things that are literally falling apart in front of us, and that we all are trying to, still sometimes trying to deny, or always trying to deny. It's time to let in the new download of the Aquarian age and transform our society and ourselves. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It is available for free every week on YouTube. Become a follower, and then turn on your notifications so that you know when it's posted. And since it's free, I need you right now to do a favor for me and pass the link on to someone you haven't passed it on to. I know you guys will all pass it on to someone, right? Already. Someone else now, right? And if you haven't, oh my goodness. If you haven't passed it on to someone for me yet, please, you're into the deal, right? Yeah, and it's also available on podcasts. No reason to watch the video. I really don't do much except talk to the camera right now. Look it up on your favorite podcast. It's distributed Buzzsprout. I think there's about 20 of them that pick it up, okay? And I know it's in the top 50% of podcasts now, which is really cool. I'm definitely getting more traffic on YouTube. I notice there's sometimes commercials in there now, so definitely doing good, guys. We're spreading it. Let's continue to spread. Over 50% of the world believes in astrology. So also, it's on Instagram. Look it up, Astrological Winds channel. And occasionally on Instagram, I do post stuff during the week. That's additional stuff, maybe for appointment day. A lot of moon stuff. Like last week, I think I talked one day about a lot of series stuff that was going on. So, you know, and it's always just a little, it's not video or audio on Instagram either. It's just a comment, so real quick to read. Also, friend me on Facebook if you'd like. Matthew with 2 T's, Lawton, Lauten. That's the other place I put the link. I only use Facebook for astrology though, guys, so it's not a social thing for me, so don't expect me to respond to much else. Okay, yeah, and then the best way to support me is I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing professional readings for over 20 years. You need your natal chart done if you haven't had it done, or if you haven't had it done well, by a professional astrologer, not a computer, not someone who's dabbled in a book. They're just going to give you information that's probably going to be confusing. Professional astrologers will synthesize it and bring it all to you and tell you in a package what it means. You need that if you haven't had it. You carry your birth chart around you your whole life. You better know what the energy is if you want to work it as well as you can. Also, predictive readings, I recommend one every year right around your birthday when you get a new solar return. It's just like getting this astrological weather report, except just for you, and it tells you what's going on in your year and can really help you once again work with the energies rather than be blind as to what's pushing you around and frustrated and angry and upset. You can work with them and things will go a lot smoother. Also do election charts if you're looking for the best timing and an event. Also do children's charts if you had a child or you have kids. Helps you learn how to deal with them better, the big events in their lives, that kind of thing. Fixed star readings for those who have had natal chart readings, understand their natal chart well, and want to get into deeper soul purpose. I highly recommend that. Relationship charts, in a new relationship or an old one, and want to know what's going on with it, you know, that's there. And then there's also relocation, astrolocality type stuff. If you're looking to move somewhere or seeing where the most powerful places on the planet for certain energies are for you, we can look at that. All that stuff, email me, mattHue823@gmail.com. That's mattHue823@gmail.com. There's also beginner classes. If you're interested in them, same thing, email me. And if you have a group looking for mini readings or a lecture or a class or something like that, I'm also available for that. All right, guys, here we go. Showing off into the age of Aquarius together. I'll see y'all next week. We're going to have a full moon in Virgo.